Hey guys, so maybe I'll take this off at the end, show you. I don't know how I can do without it, but the pain was really bad right away, but I waited in that waiting room. I know it was over 4 hours before I was seen. And I can tell you that in that final hour to half an hour, the swelling, because I sort of was looking at both of my thumbs together, the swelling got really bad, but the pain, sorry, stupid hair is like going. Well, that's the thing, right? I'm not showered. There's no way I could have taken a shower. This is actually what I wore last night. It was the only thing I could put on. It was this big let me tell you, when they took me can you say that? Gave me a shot of something right there for the pain. I don't know if I'm moving with the light, maybe it'll straighten out. It's like New Year's Eve. I always like maybe I'm a New Year's Eve, maybe I'll upload at one point and I'll explain what I was doing yesterday. So my past New Year's Eve shows, I like to dress up. I like to glam, like if there's ever an occasion, which for me there never really is, and so I try to make pretend to have it, just do a show, like get dialed up, but I can't. I can't put on underwear, and I couldn't put on pantyhose tonight, so I have no panties on and I have bare feet. I couldn't put my hair up. Got this clip because it is one hand. I don't open bottles to take my like a Tylenol. Sorry, I'm in pain. So anyway, you guys know I would have been on last night if not for the timing of this having to go to the hospital and being at the hospital. Ow, wow, that hurts. When I would have been on. But you know what's interesting? You know what's interesting about ending this year this way and starting the year this way? It's like maybe I can find some pain relief in this old ass coffee I know. I'm nursing all day. Next year is going to suck. And I don't say this to bring you down. I say this because it's going to suck at times. And you're going to get through it. But I can't promise you these infinite years of 2025 just sounds nice. So it's going to be nice and everything will be just wonderful. And I wish I could say that. Here we have a resolution. Infinite happiness on the horizon. I can say this. I'll be here. Maybe not here if this channel gets banned, but on some other channel. I always am. This is funny. Yesterday, I thought, let me find some of my drives, which I have plenty, many. And I thought, let me upload like a happy video. And my first thought was that I should not use the original file on a channel that was banned. So I should convert it. And so I had to download this conversion software. And the only way it was free is if it had that thing over it. So that's why I had that thing over it. Maybe next I should do when I had my 250,000 celebration. And actually that one has the side view of you guys chatting and stuff. That was really funny. There's some fun nights. I went to some happy ones. But anyway, so today I thought I would try it again. In that one that fell, I'm so hoping that it's not broken because my floor is so hard, and it wasn't like it was falling from, well, like why would I throw it to the ceiling and then but when it down and then it won't find it on there. But there was a guy Do you guys remember when my Mac once died? He's got water in it after the pool, got water poisoning on it for you, and on the other side. And so he was able to actually save the was on it. He's very good, but he's left that place. And he gave me an automatic response of he won't be back until Thursday. And I'm hoping it doesn't make a difference how long with it like that. But it makes me nervous on that one hard drive. Anyway. I don't know how to not feel bad, scared, Anyway, I tell myself, we pray that it'll be okay. It's like even this was horrible, but that place was so full of people. I didn't have a seat. I had to be outside from that emergency room. Tell me why. Night before New Year's Eve, there's that many people. Actually, I was into there so long that it was past New Year's Eve that when they were asking me, when you're checking out of the hospital and they ask you like when it happened, I was like, today. And like, oh, don't you mean yesterday? Because I was there so late. Yeah, you're right. Yesterday. Anyway, so there were so many people that I was worried of getting sick, but there's some people look real miserable. And also I toward the end I was outside and I had to keep going back in because I couldn't stop like screaming, not like screaming like shrieking, but the cries of pain, like because it was so bad after all that time of the swelling. So anyway, this is not how I wanted, of course, a New Year's show to be. And I'm sure I'll upload some. I'd love to upload some Christmas ones. I just use that one drive. I don't even know like what random ones I put up there. uh, but I have so many that I like to do some in the shorts, with outfit of the days. I don't know how to do shorts. I'll have to figure that out. Like anything else, figure out how to get an Instagram links, figure out how to do that. But so there's that with the drive. And then oh god, this is so bad. So yesterday morning I woke up. No, actually, you know what? Let me bring it back a little bit more. The last night that I was on, so this is like the day before yesterday that I was on here. I that night I watched a movie you guys saw on OF because I put the link at the movie I was watching on HBO called The Fallout. And the main character, she experiences something really, really horrible, and it's about like. See, I don't want to ruin the movie. I don't think I can ruin it. It's like you experience it, but I want to give part of the ending to explain something important. So, spoiler alert, I guess. So in the end, if they're going through a lot and trying, to get better, and she's sitting on this rock, I think, and you get her like sense of like peace in that moment. Like she had texted like her friend. Things were maybe gonna start to like look up. And she sees on her phone, well, I should just say, she was involved in a school shooting. Like she's hiding in the bathroom, and it's just terrifying, the scene. Like you don't see what's happened. Well, you sort of see something anyway. And this is like the effect on her. That's why it's called the fallout of what happened to the people. And so you think maybe she can start to recover through all this pain. And then at the end, then she's on this rock and she has this, and you get a sense that like the air is calm and that this like hope, and then bing, her phone gets an alert, and the alert is like 12 students killed in Ohio school shooting. And it's like, she goes into like, you heard me this morning, the panic attack, and you see it in her, which is played by Wednesday, in the show Wednesday, which I should watch again. But I also love her in the movie X or Scream. Why can't I remember her name? She's brilliant. Anyway, really the first time I saw her was in that show You. Was it like season 2? Very good. Anyway. So her character, you see in her face, and then it goes to Jenna Ortega, thank you so much, to white, but you hear her, you hear the you hear her, and I'm like, that is, I want to like, what can I do to help? Because it's like, I know that, like, I know the back of my hand. And that pain and like fear and that, and to hit her then, it's like, it's, you breaks your heart. There's other scenes that break your heart, man. The actress that plays her little sister is so good. Anyway, so because she breaks your heart too, but anyway. Um and you see it in the white for a while, hearing her. It doesn't stop. It doesn't stop until the movie black and credits, and you realize like the trauma that she's gone through. This was so hard. The first night that I ever realized that people took that illegal video of me, what they were doing with it, what they were I had that. I had that. I had that. And on Christmas, I had that. And yesterday morning, I had that. It's like, just like her, you think it's, just like her, you realize it's never going to stop. That trauma didn't disappear. She worked very hard, but that's all it took. And it's there. So I'm keep being re-traumatized. I keep being re-traumatized and I have no way out of it. It's like if you're in a traumatic situation, imagine you're like held at gunpoint, right? This is like very scary. And you don't even get to process this horror until it's over, whether you live or not. I've heard of people that have been able to like get out of it or had to do something out of it. But you guys, it's still here. Like, I wake up and it's still here. Like, I am being sexually exploited. I'm being used and violated. It's still here against me, and I have to somehow find a way to like, I don't see it, like, I don't feel it, like, I don't feel it, like, I don't feel it, like, I don't know it's there. It is right now as we speak, and it's every awful, adjective you can think of. So yesterday morning, why I had the attack is because they said to me, the site, see, the problem with that ruta is it's and I didn't realize until today that they're in Europe somewhere, all this time being off. So yesterday morning, which is whatever, is it their time at night? Who knows? They said they needed more verification of the approval to that it's, my approval to do it in a picture form. I had to write out the certain thing to give them the authority, because obviously, like, what if somebody else like pretended they're me, stole my identity, and said like, this YouTube channel is not mine, that you wouldn't want that. So I undergave that, but I thought that they were helping me in the meantime. So I hold this photo and I can't stop crying. So I have to set the camera and I look basically in the photo like it's really like, and I keep thinking maybe that's what, but I couldn't get it straight when I kept trying, and it just would be worse and worse. Like, I'm in the middle of this attack. Like, please help me. I can't get through. This needs to stop. This needs to stop. So anyway, I had a horrible attack yesterday morning, which doesn't even compare to the one this morning that you guys heard actually on the site. When I found out they refunded me, so I had to sign up again, but they're on vacation now, right? They're not there until I don't know when, and So I'm looking for another site, but in the meantime, it was like the horror yesterday of thinking in this moment, I'm not being protected. I thought they were protecting me. Like I have to get this photo done as fast as possible so they can protect me sooner. Like I need this to get done. And then this horror of like, you've refunded. I have no protection right now. I thought that I was getting, and then I had an attack really bad. And it's just like the last scene in that movie. It's like, it's never gonna stop, is it? I understand, like, people don't care at all about me. Um, Not you guys, but that there are people that like, I could kill myself. They would not care. In fact, some of them would call you a hero if you can get a picture of my body. Maybe it's a new form of getting off, because using me, breaking my heart, my spirit, and my will is just not doing it anymore. May need my corpse. Um, then you'd be a real hero, wouldn't you, for getting those photos? So I have to understand, like, how am I supposed to, like, for her, the message is like, well, maybe when the school shootings stop, and you want to stop them for her, right? But what about me? Like, when is mine gonna stop? What for years, and I thought that I was gonna be helped, and then so I still don't, right? The fact that this is a holiday is torture. Is torture. I can't get help for my hard drive. I can't get help for my exploitation. I can't get any help. So I've been just waiting until the other person to Thursday for my hard drive. Because, of course, being a holiday, well, being in Europe, it is New Year's Day earlier. So, happy birthday. I almost said happy birthday, Terry. Happy New Year. Sorry, let me try to. I have a lot of pain in my hand. Mm. We will read. Don't worry. Chapter tonight is chapter 14, The Harder They Come. So maybe the pain never stops. And maybe 2025 is not a year of no pain. Maybe for 2025, what we can hope for is surviving the pain and finding a way in our suffering to be good of it if you can. Keep your dignity if you can in a dignified way in your suffering. Help others still. Don't let it make you things will change you. You have no choice. What you go through, what you experience, but to not let what happens to you in 2025 make you less than the person that you want to be, and maybe that God would be proud of, because I don't see how I can tell myself that no pain lies ahead for me. I want people to stop hurting me, but they won't, and they don't care, and sorry. It really, like, I'm not supposed to say it. I'm supposed to act really tough, and be professional, whatever that means, right? But look, I got no makeup. I can't use my hand. in an dirty clothes because all I could get on. So let's be real. Yeah, y'all hurt me. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It hurt me really bad. But who I am still shines through, even in the dark. I'm still here. So, and it really, really, really hurts. It really, really hurts the people that have left me and abandoned me because I know that, like, it's like when you're really, when you're already really low, you can never get past that. Like my mom, she never could like, if the moments of like her babies were starving, and if somebody wouldn't help her, they couldn't give her, in the family, like enough money to feed her baby milk or something. Like, maybe not milk because I was always breastfed, but it's like you never forget that those people that leave you when you're really down. And I'm down, but you're here. What happened to your hand? Wow, what happened to my hand? So I have a problem with my anxiety with this shaking, and I get these like impulses like down my spinal cord, and I'm stressed, you know what I mean? That had happened to the hard drive. And at that point I decide to stop worrying about that and to move my TV. And I was very weak from a panic attack that morning. And it doesn't like stop there. You don't have an attack and you're like, oh, glad that's over. It's like you are weakened, and it can easily like come back and you're altered. Anyway, the state I was in, I should not have been moving a TV. The thumb. Do you want? Well, the pictures are there. They're pretty gruesome. But they're all posted of what happened. So, how it looked freaked me out. But man, that the pain of living it. I wish for you, if you ever have that happen, that you're not stuck in a waiting room with that many people, because like the longer what you're waiting, the more it hurts, and it hurts so bad. Like I said, they had to give me the shot, whatever it was. I think it began with a T for the pain. And then the 2 shots here of the lidocaine. See, I wanna show you what it looks like now at the end of the show if I can open this, because I can't on OnlyFans because where they put the lidocaine, those long needles in 2 places, they cause blood. It hurt so bad. Oh god, that hurt so bad. And then when he said he's like, "Well," he said, "Can you feel this?" And then he had me look away. "Can you feel this?" "Yes." Am I or like he's like, "Am I touching you now?" "Yes." "Now?" "No." "Now?" "No." "Now?" "Yeah." Like I got it all right. Like he's like, "Oh." Like I think he thought at first it would make it all completely numb. It didn't. It didn't. And in fact, I said where his finger was here, I said, "I feel it, but it doesn't hurt." Then this part of the one, I said, "Here, where you're touching right here, that really hurts." But anyway, he said, "I'm gonna have to let out." I don't know where my x-rays yet. They didn't give me a copy, but I'd like to get them. They did 2 sets. The first ones that showed it was dislocated, not broken, dislocated. So I guess he had to like pull it. I didn't look. I couldn't look. But I asked him, I said, "How long do you think it will take?" He's like a second, maybe 2, like very quick. If we get it right the first time. But, because I was afraid it'd be, like, minutes, and I didn't think I could handle that, but that pain was but that That lidocaine when he's putting that in, I was like this. Because you don't wanna scream when someone is that close to you, but you're like in the pain. OF, Stella Aeternum. That's my name there. I appreciate your support, thank you. I'm glad you woke up to Yeah, well, I mean, I woke up, my hand hurt a bit, I had both dogs in the bed with me. They're like, "Where's food last night?" I was glad they didn't poop in the house either when I came back because I was gone so many hours, but they missed me. Say, "I'm back." You guys missed me too. You're like, "Why weren't you on tonight?" I notified you as quick as I could what was going on, pictures, everything. Some of you stayed up, like, Jerry was up late, Dwight, Daryl, like, as soon as I was so nice because as soon as I got out and I showed the thing, and I showed the surgery room and everything, and I said, "Okay, I got to go home," and you were right there. That made me feel so good. Like I wasn't as alone getting this. So, it should heal. I'm supposed to be easy on it anyway, and I can't really lift things anyway with it. Like that TV that's on the floor I showed you today. I can't bring that out because I would need 2 hands. So maybe, whenever this heals, I try to throw it away if it'll fit. Um, so that's why I wasn't on yesterday, guys. If you're not on that site, now you know I was in the hospital for quite a long time. Um, some bullshit. I guess right now is a good time, Arthur. I could use all support I can get. Are you kidding? Oh, and so, sorry. Someone said to my, the video yesterday because I was only able to get one up before the thing dropped, like, to use OBS, so I didn't have that thing, so I hope that that clarifies what's going on with that, and if you're subscribed, you should be seeing more, other videos from the channel before, maybe even some of my other channels um, if I can, you know? Um, but here's me now and alive, and it's in 2024 or maybe 2025 where you are because it's the New Year's. All right, let's be really careful not to flash you anything tonight. Sorry about the dirty ass bare feet. Sorry about no pantyhose. When I have another hand, I will. Yeah, that's what was going on, and it was not good. Okay. So Darth, you you better be making them tips tonight. He works delivery, um, with like Uber, one of them. But a lot of times people don't tip nothing. But I'm hoping because it's a holiday, because he struggles, with money like all of us. So, uh, any of you out there working for tips, I hope you get your New Year's treated right. And it's probably cold out there, Oh, let's put them on. Right. Bruises all over my legs. Whew. When your foot falls asleep. Sorry. Lots of tips tonight. All right. All right. Kick butt. Well, let me keep you some company and read to you while you work. I'm trying not to. Uh-oh. That freaking hand. Have you guys ever had your joints come out before? This is a first for me. The doctor asked me, "Has this ever happened to you before?" I'm gonna say, no. Just a second. So how's all your other New Year's Eve going? You got any traditions, any plans? You know, I always used to watch that ball drop. Did Anderson Cooper and Andy Cohen still do queer shit at midnight? Get blasted and silly. Yeah, probably a lot of people be. They drink, and my mommy used to. Oh, you did your finger too, Jerry? Maybe that's how some of you knew. Like Terry knew, and before I even knew, he said broken or dislocated, and that's actually what they did the X-rays to know, so they would know how to put it back together if I was going to need a more involved surgery. I guess you guys know it more because it can happen in like sports injuries. But it was a new one to me. 3 weeks after giving birth, I flew to Page, Arizona for my second Vogue photo shoot with Richard Avedon. I panicked at first because I couldn't take Chastity with me, but Sonny insisted I do it because the exposure would be good and keep us in the public eye. The German nurse he'd hired to take care of Chaz was good with the baby, but too strict with me. She was so tall and built like a wrestler, and acted as if I would drop Chaz or somehow hurt her. I'm sorry, but that reminds me of, okay, so sometimes, let me share a dark, disturbing secret about myself. I go on the Taylor Swift forum because I like to look at pictures of her, videos of like, her music, and anyway, because I like Taylor Swift. And so she's been staying at her place in New York City lately, and she was out lately with her boyfriend on your team, Arthur. And he looks, so anyway, her boyfriend, what's his name again? Travis Kelce. He will say, "Oh, Taylor, she looks so beautiful. She wears these high heels." And so anyway, he looks down when she's like walking and like getting off a curb and stuff, and they say it's giving "don't drop the baby." Anyway, it reminded me of how you guys are to me sometimes, like, don't drop the baby. Did you know, because people were like, oh, she was with Jack Antonoff and his wife, Margaret Qualley. And I didn't know they were married. Of course, I should have known because I did see the wedding photos of, when Taylor went to their wedding. But anyway, love to see happy couples. I wasn't a complete idiot. She hardly allowed me to touch my child. And it got to the point where I'd sneak in early in the morning, grab Chaz, bring her back to my room, and lock the door. The German woman would follow, clomping down the hall after me because she'd had one of the first spinal infusions, and it made her footsteps really heavy and uneven. She'd call to me outside my bedroom, "Miss Bono, please open the door." I couldn't wait to get rid of her once I got home from the shoot. G flew with me to Arizona, while Sonny stayed home to organize a new tour and work out the final recording schedule for my next album. Thank God it was the first fun thing I'd done in months, and was really wonderful because I was on my own with G, Richard, and Ara Gallant, and I met a man named Maurice Hogenbaum, who was a photographer and model that the casting director had selected to be shot with me. He was beautiful, very sweet, and about 1,000 feet tall. This shoot was to be the third installment in a series Diana Vreeland had organized. Verushka had already been shot in Japan. Toots, Angelica Houston, was shot in Ireland, and now I was to be the third spread to finish out the series. I had my figure back already, so they didn't have to hide a bump. and they dressed me in Giorgio's modern takes on Native American dress. Isn't it amazing how much and I appreciate the bluntness, because I feel like it probably applies to a lot of people. But how much her life and memories and is colored by how much that she weighed and how her body looked. And it's like, I don't know. I mean, I think that the truth is often, and I say often because it's probably majority of the time, but I leave open exceptions. But the truth is that a lot of how you see yourself and also your life at the time, right, is through how other people treat you or you feel like they see you, you know? So, like, you could be the most gorgeous thing on earth, but if people treat you like shit and tell you how ugly you are and you feel it because this is your treatment, you know, you're getting like pushed over and whatever, you feel it will be very hard to feel that you are not like unworthy, that there's something you need to change or improve about yourself, and then if you are the opposite, you could look like someone else's version or your own version of like what you would have thought is like a horrible. But if other people treat you like you're not, you will see the world, and therefore that time in your life, that period in your life where you look that way, better. Just because they say like perception is reality, but really like your reality is often like if you look back in your own memories of times, and if you look back and how you looked in different times, it's so much less to do with how you look than how people were treating you, which says a lot about what I consider the value in limiting who gets to treat you any type of way. But I think for her it was very important, her figure, because like she probably acknowledged like she was going to get treated better through jobs and roles, and her appearance matters so much, and therefore her weight being an important factor in this book makes sense to me, but in a very sad way. But she got her figure back. So they didn't have to hide a bomb, and they dressed me in Giorgio's modern takes on Native American dress. They gave me some outrageous makeup that looked like I was wearing feathers for eyelashes or had a cow's skull inked on my forehead. And they draped me with turquoise Navajo jewelry, sparking a lifelong love. There were also some fabulous embellished belts with fringe, bone necklaces. Guys, I love bone necklaces. I have bone necklaces. And I think it could be part of like my native side, my warrior side. But let me tell you guys, if you don't have none, I have teeth. Being part Peru and my native, I have teeth from the Amazon. I'm just saying, when you wear like warrior jewelry, you feel some type of way, you know? What was I? And drape me with turquoise Navajo jewelry. See, nowadays that can be very expensive, and they almost always do it with real silver. So, I mean, maybe if you find a piece that's affordable, but it's hard. There were also some fabulous embellished belts with fringe, bone necklaces, and amazing arm cuffs. I got a necklace with piranha teeth. I felt free and relaxed on set. Everyone was treating me like an adult, and nobody was trying to control me. Arizona in April was freezing, And one day I had to get into a lake and stand about waist deep in the water for a while, holding a piebald pony by a rope halter. Oh, thank you, Jerry. Happy New Year. Jerry, you're so weird. You're not ugly at all. Yeah, I've shown you guys his picture. He's not. This is a problem with men where they think this way. Okay. Where was I? Oh, she's also got embellished. Oh, wait, hold on. Richard set up his camera on the shores of Lake Powell and had us posing up against red rocks or mountain backdrops. I was shivering so badly. Richard kept giving me shots of brandy, and I got so drunk. When we got back to the hotel, my sister put me right in a bath. While I was still tipsy, Sonny called, and my sister kept pushing my head underwater so I couldn't say anything. She made up some believable excuse for Sonny and then told me I shouldn't be talking to him because I was drunk. While we were in Arizona shooting, Diana Freeland got fired from Vogue. Grace Mirabella took over and cut down my spread from what was supposed to be 20 pages to maybe 6 and didn't publish them until more than a year later. In August 1970, in a spread entitled Cherokee in Indian County, I came home feeling really good about the shoot when Sonny sat me down and confessed something that pushed me over the edge. We're broke, Cher. We owe the IRS $270,000 in back taxes, and we don't have the money. We're going to have to go back on the road, bud. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I didn't even think. Thank God I bought 2 hair dryers because when you've lost everything, trust me, having 2 of everything means absolutely nothing. Most of all, I felt scared. Holding our baby close to bankruptcy in a mansion that suddenly felt too big, I sat very still, trying to take in what Sonny was telling me, as if talking to a child. He explained that he'd had to sink several $100,000 of our money into making both movies and that we also owed another unspecified amount in loans. Speaking of movies, I sent it to you guys last night that it's on YouTube. I haven't finished watching all of it. But from what I saw, like I don't know if you guys saw it, like watched it or had time, it was pretty late. But it looked pretty good. Yeah, I feel like they suffered from not having that much distribution options, of the time. Anyway. I sat very still trying to take in what Sonny was telling me. As if talking to a child, he explained that he'd had to sink several $100,000 of our own money into making both movies, and that we also owed another unspecified amount in loans. I thought of all his fancy cars, and then I thought of the moment I begged him to buy me the house. We'll swing it, he told me, and I realized that the house of my dreams cost almost exactly what we owed. That's how people in the movie industry or music business get into such trouble. You come from nothing, and suddenly you've got all this money, and you're doing Ed Sullivan, and people are screaming for you all over the world, and you think it's going to last forever. Then, one day, it dries up, and you realize you never had any backup. Well, that's the thing. That's the biggest misconception people have in life, is that things will last forever. If it's good, it'll last. If it's bad times, then it'll last. But it doesn't. It doesn't. And then that's why they say maybe save for the rainy days, because the rainy days come, You don't go outside when it's sunny and say, I'm so glad it's always going to be sunny. As someone who didn't know my ass from first base when it came to money, I always felt lucky to have Sonny. Believing he was both savvy and shrewd, it never occurred to me that he didn't know enough about finances and might not be the best man for the job. Neither of us have ever stayed long enough in any job to pay income tax. So I guess he hadn't factored that in, or maybe. Oh, here we go. There's going to be more pictures at the end of the show tonight. Or maybe he'd simply ignored it. Everything had happened so fast that paying taxes was probably the last thing on his mind. We didn't have a business manager, only Charlie and Brian, who knew nothing about the music business, and we never have let them take care of our money. Joe D knew more, but he was a gangster. I'm pretty sure he stole jewels, and I doubt that he ever paid taxes. You have to be consistently successful, or you can run into money problems. Yeah, but life isn't linear. Success isn't linear. You know what I mean? Straight, you know? It's kind of like, okay, so let's talk about, and when I say, like, let's embarrass Darth for a minute here. Say Darth is doing good tonight, as he always should. You know, it bothers me when people don't tip because, like, my sister, she worked at the Ruby Tuesday, and we didn't have no money. She would come home crying sometimes that she didn't make any tips in the restaurant that night, and she didn't have hardly enough money to make it home with gas, with whatever change and that she had with a few dollars in her pocket. And it was like, why do people consider that, you know, like, not to tip? I'm just saying that because a lot of times, like, they don't complain, they just keep trying, but it really means a lot to people that you do that. So knowing that so often people don't tip, he's probably going to have to think, oh, you know, maybe I'd like to get myself like a nice, like a Subway sandwich or something with a bag of chips. And then it'd be like, well, but I probably shouldn't get the bag of chips because I'm not going to have tips as often as tonight. So I have to, like, save the tips and just get, you know, a foot long of a tuna. Tashalasha. What? Oh. Everything had happened so fast that paying taxes was probably the last thing on his mind. We didn't have a business manager, only Charlie and Brian, who knew nothing about the music. Ah, my finger! The music business. And we'd never have let them take care of our money. Joe D knew more, but he was a gangster. I'm pretty sure he stole jewels, and I doubt that he ever paid taxes. Sonny had been keeping the bad news from me until the baby was born and assured me that he tried everything he could to save us from ruin. I could tell how much it hurt him to admit screwing up. We were so broke that he'd been borrowing money from our chauffeur, Joseph. How do you like that? You gotta give him an A for effort. He'd not even paid Tony Curtis in full for our house yet, so we couldn't sell it, and the property market had dipped. So there'd have been little return anyway. Sonny also told me he knew it would break my heart to leave that house. Our only hope was to sell our latest movie to a studio and go back to doing gigs. Even though we'd no longer be playing the big venues and the money would be far less. So that's how things are, Cher, Sonny told me finally, his voice flat. There's nothing else to do but start again. Then my hearing went out and I was completely inside myself. I could see in Sonny's face that he was afraid and trying to hide it. Having just had a baby, my hormones were totally out of whack. The worse the situation is, the quieter I am.
I was silent. The worst part was this was just the beginning, and I didn't know if it was the beginning of the end, really the end. I started to have a horrendous panic attack and was shaking with fear. Sonny took me by the shoulders and said, "Look at me. Just give me 2 years and I promise we'll be bigger than ever." He seemed so determined and had so much energy. Most of all, though, he had a great belief in us as stars. Something about the way he looked at me made me believe him. "Okay, son," I told him as bravely as I could, wiping my eyes. 2 years. Okay, so here's some photos. So we'll look at those at the end. Oh, this last one here. It's Mama plays with Chaz. And she's kissing a baby. Oh, it's so cute. Little baby, fat baby legs. To start the next phase of our career, we all went to London to appear on a British television show called This Is Tom Jones, hosted by the singer. That May night in Elstree Studios also featured a teenage Stevie Wonder singing a medley of his songs. I had been a fan since I saw him on American Bandstand in 1963 as a little Stevie Wonder singing Fingertips. Then the host and I sang The Beat Goes On. Tom was in a tux, and I wore a native squaw dress. It was Sonny's idea to storm onto the stage and forcibly drag me off as if he were angry with me for singing with another man, leaving Tom struggling and perplexed. It was all pre-rehearsed, but the irony was that Sonny's act wasn't that far from the truth. We flew from London to New York, where I learned that Grandpa Roy had passed away at the age of 63. I couldn't attend his funeral, but G did, and told me that Mom was very upset to lose the man she still adored. From New York, Sonny came with me to Alabama to finish recording my sixth studio album, and my first for Atlantic, entitled 3614 Jackson Highway. It was named after the address of the Muscle Shoals studio in the town of Sheffield, where it was recorded. Some of the greatest artists had recorded there: Aretha Franklin, the Rolling Stones, Joe Cocker, and Stevie Wonder, to name a few. It was made clear to Sonny, even before we arrived, that Jerry Wexler, a producer and partner at Atlantic Records, who was said to have coined the term rhythm and blues, was going to be the producer. But that didn't stop Sonny from giving his opinion. When I arrived with Chaz and Sonny in tow, I could immediately tell that Jerry wasn't happy. Sonny claimed he was there to support me and take photos, and it was he who took the picture of me in the beaded outfit standing outside the studio with the band that was used on the record sleeve. But he couldn't stop interfering, and he and Jerry didn't get along at all. Sonny and Jerry argued so much that Jerry ended up in the hospital, and I ended up lying in the cemetery across the street where I talked to the dead guys. That TV studio is still in use. Okay, so guys, when we read the book about Elvira's biography, she had spent a lot of time in Vegas as a showgirl and met different stars, and it was a very good book. It was a very fun book, but she talked about her big crush with Tom Jones and her having relations with him and because of his ringlets. And I just couldn't stop laughing when I read that, like as though we were supposed to understand the seduction power of the ringlets. And so anyway, that's why whenever I say Tom Jones, like Terry writes ringlets or someone writes ringlets, it's from the Elvira book. She also at one point lived in a tree with a man. I'm not kidding. Anyway. The record was released on June 20th, 1969, less than 3 months after I became a new mother and not long before the release of our movie Chastity. Sonny wrote in his diary, "It's a great album. I think it's the best she's ever done." A few critics, see, that's one of my goals for next year, 2025. I want to write in a diary more. Like, even if it's small, like, I was almost thinking, even if it's like one of those planners where, where they give like a little space for the day, not like a little square, but, like a little, even if it's just that to write, like a little, like, because I think it would have a lot of value, to make order of your thoughts and days and yeah. Where was I? A few critics said nice things about my voice, but it failed to change our fortunes. Atco canceled my next album and dropped me. Our film Chastity came out the same month, distributed by American International Pictures, but it was given an R rating, even though there was nothing in it that should have gotten it labeled as risque. So the younger audience we were trying to target couldn't see it without being accompanied by an adult. The movie was panned by the critics. Deflated, we both came down with the flu and were too sick to attend the premiere, which was probably just as well. I'm really hoping I don't come down with something from that emergency room last night. I've been taking my immunity vitamins. See, that's one thing I could credit myself this year. I really made effort. I mean, the year before too and everything, but every year I've tried to improve. But with taking in my vitamins consistently and remembering that, and you could probably even journal that if you have a goal of that next year and what you try and stuff. But anyway, just a little success this year with something. A diary is great when you live alone. Yeah. I wouldn't dare put my thoughts on. Shut up. Why? You could say you're writing a book. Putting your thoughts on paper can be very powerful. Okay. Without a hit record or movie, the plan to go on a concert tour. Sorry, I just found a lip balm over here. Maybe I can use my teeth on it. Oh, God. No. Okay, maybe if I hold my elbow down and twist this. Guys, you really got to appreciate having both hands. Oh, but the cap is too... maybe if I have something here. If I help this part. Look at what I did. I shoved it into... Do you see this blue thing here? That's the lip balm. I shoved it into here as to hold it like a hand. The girl is genius. I make an excellent cripple. Ow. Prosecution? What are you talking about? But is he gonna write, "Oh, today I killed 4 people and threw them in the river"? He's not writing that. He's writing poems about feet. There wasn't enough work for us to support our agent, Harvey Kresge, from William Morris, so he left us to be with more successful clients while Joe D gamely stuck with us. Sonny put our house on the market. Good. And aside from the upcoming gigs we had at the Flamingo in Vegas, he booked us into the only other dates we could get, doing the supper club circuit and performing in hotel and casino dinner theaters. Sonny and I didn't know what to expect, but we were relieved to be working. So, in September 1969, we put Chastity in a travel crib and hired a nanny named Heidi, who turned out to be the sweetest woman in the world. Sonny put a band together. They traveled separately in a van, and we had our car with Chaz in a wicker cradle as we set out on a schedule of back-to-back shows starting with 3 weeks at the Elmwood Casino in Windsor, Ontario, Canada. I'm sure the venue was perfectly fine, but coming from where we come from, it felt horrible. We stayed in a motel across the street, and there was a railway station nearby that kept us awake all night with the whistles of passing trains. The plumbing in our room didn't work properly, and there was mildew on the paper thin walls. We unpacked, and Sunny asked for a hot plate and started cooking pasta sauce in our room for us and the band because we couldn't afford to pay restaurant prices. I wanted to curl up and die. For our stage appearances, Sunny dressed in his tuxedo with a fancy shirt and bow tie. He decided I needed a more grown up look, so he asked Sadie to make me a Grecian style dress, to which they added a beautiful bronze colored chain that went from the shoulder and looped down to the hips and back up. I looked like some sort of goddess. On my feet, I wore Roman sandals. Sunny had the movie outfitter's Western costume make for me. Dressed and ready, we'd leave Chaz with G or Heidi and take the service elevator to the ground floor, where we negotiated our way through the busy kitchen while trying not to slip on any grease or walk into a waiter flying past us carrying 5 plates. Standing by the swing doors and trying to keep out of the way, we'd listen for our cue from the previous act and then walk on waving and smiling as if we were playing to a sold-out Hollywood Bowl. As always, I'd get past my nerves by staring at Sunny rather than making eye contact with the audience as we sang our sad set. Having played to 30,000 screaming fans, now we were lucky if we had an audience of more than 100. At one of our first midnight shows at the Elmwood, we had to play for 4 people. 4. A lot of the places were real dives. One night, I had a panic attack at the thought of having to stand on that stage for an hour. I didn't think I could go on. Freaking out, I told Sunny, I can't do it. Not tonight, I just can't. He was gentle with me and said, that's okay. Just come on with me for the opening, and then you can walk off anytime you want. I'll just do a song until you can come back. When it got too much for me, I did as he suggested and walked off to watch him singing from the wings. We had gone from performing for huge crowds of kids who loved us and knew every word of our songs to small groups of people who didn't know us, didn't necessarily like us. It might be best described as ambivalent or even mildly annoyed. These audiences weren't here to see us perform. They were coming to have dinner or for drinks at the midnight show. I wasn't used to begging an audience to like us. This was my worst nightmare. It's 1,000 times harder to come back than to become. That's what I'm thinking is like, I have my videos like 250,000 celebration, but I'm like, you know what? If you can survive that, then you can survive anything because you have to go into yourself and like find your power of like knowing that the numbers don't matter. And I think that's actually very empowering, and most people can't do it. Whereas for years I'd have like 4 people, 8 people in a show, and I'd be here every night. When it used to be like 100,000, but I'm still me. I actually think I got more confident, more comfortable. I think I got better where you see over time on my drives getting like better and better, which is great to see. Imagine me 50 years from now. Hello. Okay. Becoming famous is hard, but making a comeback is almost impossible. I have done it so many times, but this was my first time. Sunny knew me well, and the right thing to say because knowing I could walk off whenever I wanted made it easier for me to go up on stage each night and sing with him. Wanting to keep us in the public eye, Sunny arranged for us to appear as guests on any TV show that could get us on. We flew to Philadelphia to co-host with Mike Douglas on his TV show, inviting him to come on stage and sing Baby Don't Go with us. Later, Mike asked Sunny why we were performing in supper clubs, and my chameleon of a husband didn't even flinch. I think it solidifies you as a performer, he replied, sounding as if he meant it. I think you must get in touch with the general public, not just a certain age group, and you must entertain when you get up there. He added that our audiences were very engaged with us as a couple, but that his dream was to push me forward as a solo artist and be the force behind the music. Later in the show, we brought Chastity on for her first ever television appearance. For the first 2 years of her life, we were working constantly, playing small gigs around the United States. Chaz reached so many milestones like sitting up or crawling for the first time in hotels and motels. Chaz was our only entertainment and such a gift. Being with her was like having Christmas every day. She was so happy and adorable that her little feet never touched the ground because everyone from the band to the hotel staff wanted to cuddle her. Once her blonde hair started coming through, it grew out with black tips. So she looked like a little punk rocker decades before we even knew what that was. After watching many rehearsals, she started pretending to conduct the band. One time I put my t-shirt on her and my headband around her belly so it looked like a little evening gown. She jumped around conducting and got so excited. An unbelievably good baby. She was the sole focus of our long road back to who we once were. We had no money, no big house, no fancy meals. So the three of us just hung out together. No matter how difficult our circumstances, Sunny could always make me laugh. And in a weird way, struggling again helped me revitalize our relationship. Being poor narrowed the focus of what we could do, what was important, and how to best spend our time. It made us feel like it was the three of us against the world. Trying to engage the audience and using me as part of an experiment, Sonny came up with one of his crazier ideas. He thought I should sing the Un Bel Di, One Fine Day, aria from Puccini's Madame Butterfly that I'd memorized as a kid. Doing that as a solo halfway through the act would be different and interesting, he insisted. You saw that? What show? Yeah. I said, please, I really don't want to do it. Isn't this already enough torture? He said, Cher, come on. Nobody liked it, and most people looked at me with their mouths open. But of course, the night we stopped doing Un Bel Di, someone came in and requested it. Oh my God. Everything was hard at that time. The accommodations, the hours, the people in the audience. Each night was like a war, and we lost almost every battle. Finally, at a second show at the Elmwood in Windsor, Ontario, I got tired of people wishing that they were somewhere else. It was a midnight show, so a lot of people in the audience were drunk and didn't care. So I just turned my back to them and started talking to the band and making them laugh. Thank God bands laugh at anything. A heckler in the audience yelled out something and made me think, okay, man, fuck you. I don't remember what he said. Who could know? But I said something back that must have been funny enough because even some people in the audience started laughing. Son just kind of took a step back, looking at me like, okay, let's see where you're going. Usually he'd be giving me side eye, but he just kind of waited. It felt good because I finally got to say how I was feeling. Then Sonny joined in and we started to have fun between ourselves, so it didn't really matter what the audience thought because we were just enjoying ourselves together. we started moving towards this new kind of act and got braver with what we said on stage. Oh, when Chastity was on. Okay. But it was always hit or miss. We'd say something one night and the audience would roar. Then we'd say it another night and they'd be silent. It was starting to work, but it wasn't working enough. It was a glimmer of hope, but we were still in these hotels every day, stuck performing 2 shows every night. I wanted it to be like it used to be. One evening, while I was in our hotel room, someone from our group brought up a man who analyzed handwriting. He'd done it for some other people in our band, and we'd had a lot of fun listening to what he deduced. This stranger didn't know me or my story. I was in another room when I wrote something down. When I returned, he looked at what I'd scrawled and put his hand on my shoulder. "You're unhappy," he told me quietly. "Don't worry, you won't be with your husband forever." I was so shocked, I could barely speak. I was also terrified because I worried that what he'd said might get back to Sunny. After he left, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I felt anxious and afraid. It was like the Bermuda Triangle of my life. It was awful. I didn't say anything for a few days, but finally I went to Sunny and told him, "Son, I'm unhappy, and I don't know why, but I'm so sad." He took a beat, then exploded and he yelled, "You're so ungrateful! Do you want me to divorce you?" I was stunned. The first thing in my mind was, I'm never going to tell you how I feel again. Chapter 15. Ladies and gentlemen, Sunny and Cher. I know, who wants your handwriting analyzed? You'd be like, your handwriting shows you're a retard. I guess it's true what they say about necessity being the mother of invention. Because slowly we developed an act that eventually people would line up to see. They didn't come for our singing, they wanted to hear our jokes. We weren't experienced as writers, and it took a long time to figure out what audiences liked. Son and I started to just talk to each other on stage, and if it was funny, we kept it. Sonny began to see that this was a thing. I had always been a bit of a wise ass, and when I first met Sonny, it had amused him. Now, in front of these audiences, I was getting to speak more loosely again. I was just who I am, kind of like my mom, who is where I got my sense of humor, as well as from my uncle, the funniest man to ever draw breath, my grandpa Jake, and after she got a little bit older, my sister. Growing up, having a sense of humor was prized, but never in a gazillion years did I imagine that I'd become a stand-up comedian. It didn't happen overnight, but after months and months of refining our act, our shows started selling out. I'm talking months. Mostly, I'd poke fun at Sonny, and he'd fire back with retorts. I'd make jokes about his mom's overeating, while he teased me about my nose being too thin. His height and his singing were easy targets, as were his hopes of becoming a sex symbol. You'd have to come out naked and on fire to attract the attention of this audience, I tell him, adding after a beat, "Well, maybe just on fire." Our dynamic started to change because I'd gotten us into a new area just by accident. All of a sudden, we got excited again, like when we started Sonny and Cher. Our stage personas were the opposite of our real relationship. He wasn't being himself when he played the aggrieved husband, allowing the occasional comeback, and the hapless victim of a glamorous bitch. He was just being smart and enjoying himself, which made it fun for the audience and for me. Being on stage suddenly felt like acting or playing a game, and it was one I began to enjoy. The more fun Sonny and I had, the more the band laughed, and finally the audience too. The jokes were so good that they made the audience listen to the songs, which rounded out the show. Instead of playing to a couple of drunks with their backs to us, we found ourselves wisecracking to couples who identified with our marital gags and bought tickets to watch us joke around. As 1970 rolled in, we developed more of a following. Each performance, we would go on stage with a rough idea of what had happened the night before and then try to polish it and make it better, refining in real time to get a solid 20 minutes. The band became our accomplices. They'd belly laugh at our jokes, and people in the audience would crack up along with them. Is that how like those late night hosts, like they'll talk to the band leader? Like, when did that start? Did that start with like Johnny Carson and be like, you're paid to laugh at my jokes, so laugh, damn it. As time went on, we got better and better. It helped that people would clap for us now, which made being up there more fun and made our performance more relaxed. Sonny would say something about himself, like making fun of how he dressed in the 60s. I did look a little weird and stupid. Yeah, I reply. What's your excuse now? Or, hey, Cher, do you remember when kids used to try to rip my clothes off and scream? Now they'd scream after you rip your clothes off. I'd snap. Timing was everything. He'd tell the audience, Christmas this year was really nice. My mother cooked, and she really knows how to stuff a turkey, doesn't she? Expressionless, I'd arch an eyebrow and say, yeah, straight into her mouth. Sonny was the perfect foil, and for a straight man, he could be hysterical on stage. He'd often make himself laugh so much that he couldn't even sputter out his lines, which made me crack up until neither of us could continue. In a far better frame of mind, we celebrated Chaz's first birthday in early March 1970. Sonny was a big kid in her company, and I could happily watch them both for hours. He was so creative and so nutty about her that he'd make up absurd fairy tales with an Italian twist, like the tale of good Princess Garbage, who loved garlic or cleaned up pizza boxes. Those were the kind of stories he'd tell throughout her childhood. We were so busy traveling and working that our world consisted only of the three of us, Dennis and Joe D. When I heard from G that Mom was getting married again, I was happy for her. At 44, she was still beautiful, and Hamilton Holt, a silver-haired Southern gentleman whose name she took and kept, was lucky to have her. I couldn't attend their Florida wedding, and when they moved there for the 3 years that their marriage lasted, we could only get down there to visit twice as we were working constantly. We continued touring our act as Sonny added more and more dates with the help of the William Morris Agency. We'd spend a week in one venue, then do a series of one-night stands in adjacent cities. We marked my 24th birthday and Sonny's 35th on the road on my second Mother's Day as a new mom. We found ourselves in a crummy hotel room where Sonny tried to cheer me up by writing Happy Mother's Day, I love you, Mom, on the bathroom mirror in soap. I picked up his camera and took a photograph as proof. Our new agent, Freddie Apollo from WMA, came to see our new act and liked it so much that he arranged for us to appear before an audience of comedians at the Century Plaza Hotel in Los Angeles. Bill Cosby was at the height of his career, and we were on right before him. It was a nightmare rivaling our performance for Princess Margaret. For reasons I can't now imagine, we were offered a television script not long after for a new television special called The Sonny and Cher Nitty Gritty Hour. The show went okay, but it felt too formulaic and less spontaneous than what we did on tour. Nothing came of it, and we were soon back on the road with our twice nightly shows. I felt permanently tired. The good news was that responses to our performances were better, so we were making money and starting to gain a following. Sonny kept saying, Cher, we're heading someplace. We're going to get someplace. You'll see. I figured we'd at least be able to pay off the government, which I was still nervous about. But Sonny kept saying, I promise, I promise. In this case, he gets a real A for effort because Sunny kept pushing us to get bigger and better bookings. And before I knew it, we had an 8-minute role in a popular TV show called Love American Style that aired in January 1971. I played a girl who was excited because her boyfriend was about to drop by and propose, and Sonny played a kooky friend of his who was in love with me and had himself mailed to my address to persuade me out of the marriage. His ploy worked, of course, and we skipped off into the sunset to eat Italian. It wasn't until one night in June that year, almost exactly 2 years after Sonny told me, "Just give me 2 years, Cher, and I promise you we'll be back on top," that everything changed. Fred Silverman, the 33-year-old executive who'd taken over as head of programming and development at CBS Television, came to see a performance we gave in New York after he'd spotted us somewhere. We were appearing for 3 nights at the Royal Box Supper Club in the 51-story convention hotel, the Americana, where a few years earlier Lennon and McCartney had announced the formation of Apple Corps. Fred liked us and talked to William Morris about booking us as substitute hosts for a late-night episode of the hugely popular Merv Griffin show in mid-April. Being invited to host a primetime television show was a huge deal for us. Merv had started out as a singer with big hands and ended up on Broadway and in films before being invited to host his own TV show in 1962. Every family in America watched it, including ours. And when he went on to create the game shows Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy, he became one of our country's first billionaire media moguls. The format of Merv's talk show was different from anything we'd done before, and we were completely out of our comfort zone. Previous guests included people like the author Gore Vidal and the singer Judy Garland, actress Janet Leigh, director John Huston, and boxer Muhammad Ali. Our schedule had us interviewing the editor of Cosmopolitan, Helen Gurley Brown. Oh, there's another book we read. Who'd written the best-selling book Sex and the Single Girl, and the actor Michael Blodgett, who'd starred in the movie Beyond the Valley of the Dolls. We also chatted with actress Jackie Joseph, a regular on the Doris Day Show, and I was filmed away from the studio with football player Fred the Hammer Williamson, which I love because I was such a football fan. Our turn in the spotlight seemed to go well, and the reviews were enthusiastic. Unbeknownst to us, Fred Silverman had spotted some potential in our act and was looking for more contemporary variety shows to attract younger viewers weary of long-standing hosts such as Merv Griffin, Dean Martin, and Dinah Shore. Wanting more feedback, Fred sent 2 of his best producers and writers who'd recently worked together on the Andy Williams show to watch us and help him decide if we were good enough to have our own gig. When Alan Bile and Chris Beard wandered into the Fairmont Hotel's Venetian room with its crimson carpets, elaborate lights, and the giant F's on the walls, they joked that it reminded them of the dining room of the Titanic just before it hit the iceberg, but with fewer people. Incredibly, though, the pair enjoyed our odd little act, saying later, God bless them. They came out and did their funny exchange and sang their hits, and there was something there. As singers, they were just okay, but as comics, they were hysterical. After the show, they came backstage, and we all hit it off immediately. They decided we didn't have experience, but had raw talent. By the time they landed back in LA, they'd already written the formula of a new show for us, based on what Sonny and I had developed on our own. And within days, Fred Silverman offered us a chance to record a summer pilot, the Sonny and Cher Comedy Hour. We got 6 episodes because CBS was releasing a miniseries about the 6 wives of Henry VIII, and we were the lead-in. Thanks, Henry. It felt surreal to be embarking on this exciting new adventure together after all we'd been through. Sonny was especially pleased, strutting around telling everyone who'd listen that he always knew we'd make it. Knowing that we need good legal representation to negotiate the new contracts, Sonny remembered the lawyer, Erwin Spiegel, whom he'd always hoped to hire. When Sonny was young, he was in court watching a trial for some reason. The man who was in the right should have won, but instead, the guy who was clearly in the wrong won the suit. Erwin had represented the guy in the wrong, and from that day on, Sonny decided if he ever needed a lawyer, that's who he'd hire. He was just another suit as far as I was concerned, but he went with Son to their first meetings with CBS. There was one detail I cared about most, and I told the executives I'd really like Bob Mackie to design my costumes. When I said that, everybody looked at me like I was crazy. I might as well have said I'm leaving Sonny to run away with Dumbo. We had no money, and there was no way we were getting someone of Bob Mackie's stature to design for me. They told me the designer, Rhett Turner, had already been assigned. Then they started talking business, and I got up and left. I called Bob and asked for his help. He agreed to collaborate with his friend Rhett, who was the head of wardrobe for NBC. He too was a legendary figure. We were given 2 months to tie up our touring commitments and prepare for our first show. We felt ready for it and were thrilled and delighted at the opportunity. We got our first live audience for the Sonny and Cher Comedy Hour by telling nearby shoppers there would be free food and drinks from the farmers market. Thankfully, it was only time we needed to bribe anyone to watch our show. Not that we knew that the day our pilot was filmed at Studio 31 in CBS's Television City at Fairfax Avenue and Beverly Boulevard. We were both just praying it went well. Sonny was more nervous than me for a change, which secretly amused me. I watched him jumping about the stage like a grasshopper and thought, son, come on, get it together. We've been doing this shit for years. Once in a while, if my stage fright was really bad on the road, I'd take a quarter of one of Sonny's Valiums to take the edge off. But that day, I wasn't afraid. I had our routine down. Having memorized my script on first sight, the show was almost identical to what we'd been doing for the previous 2 years, only without the constant traveling in the bad nightclubs. With our experiences on the nitty-gritty hour and Merv Griffin under our belts, I felt better equipped to perform to a camera and a small crowd. We also had a great crew helping us with everything from costume changes to planting cue cards in case we forgot our lines, as Sonny often did, so it was no longer us against the world. Rhett Turner did a great job as head of costuming and quickly became one of my dearest friends. He'd often pick up Chaz after her dance classes and bring her to set, where she would show us her new tap dance routines she learned that day. Then he'd let her twist his red hair into many little ponytails all over his head. It was a family dynamic as well as a work dynamic. Our budget was so small to begin with that we only had a few outfits each. Rhett made a full-length white dress that I wore to open the show, and we adapted it repeatedly and in all kinds of clever ways. It started as a Grecian-style halter neck and ended up as a cutaway. Rhett and Bob put cherries on it, a heart for Valentine's Day, fringe necklaces, or whatever they had on hand. There was no money for the beads or bows I longed for. Carol Burnett's soundstage was just across from ours, and Bob Mackie designed for her show, so we'd often borrow or steal pieces from her wardrobe to dress things up. Luckily, she and I were the same size. They even rated our rivals at NBC working miracles with whatever they could find, especially when it came to the crazier character costumes. As the magic hour approached, we took our places in the specially designed set, and I squeezed Sonny's hand. His chief concern was the presence of Fred Silverman, who had flown in from New York and was watching from the wings with Chastity in his arms. He'd come to visit Carol Burnett and check up on his new show, All in the Family, which was filmed on a soundstage near ours. Fred was all smiles, but even with that teddy bear look of his, we knew he was one of the suits and the man to impress. A reporter and photographer from Life magazine were also waiting, camera and notepad poised. The stakes were high. An animation of us, created by graphic artist John Wilson, rolled, and an announcer called out, "From Television City in Hollywood, ladies and gentlemen, Sonny and Cher." I stood there, taking it all in, thinking, this is what I'm supposed to do. Ever since I sat open-mouthed at Grauman's Chinese Theater as a 5-year-old, I'd wanted to be up on a screen in my own show. I'd had the same feeling watching Elvis 20 years after Dumbo. It was finally happening. There was a dramatic drum roll, then the stage wall lifted for our arrival. It was covered in dozens of gigantic round light bulbs, like those on a vanity mirror, each bulb printed with cartoon versions of Sunny's and my faces. We walked up the stairs from the back and onto the stage, our fingers interlocked. Dressed in coordinated white outfits, we opened by singing alternate lines of "The Beat Goes On," until it was my cue to step forward and pretend to get carried away by myself, just as I'd done in our nightclub act. Sonny faked indignation and tried to cut in, but I kept cutting across him or blocking him from view until he stopped the music altogether, hands on his hips, as I carried on singing a cappella. "What am I, chopped liver?" he asked. "This song was written for both of us, sweetheart." I nodded, beat, then replied, "Was." The audience burst into laughter, and I carried on singing. That's very like Miss Piggy-esque. Eventually, I stopped and let him have his turn, staring him down. "Are you upset because I wanted to do my spot?" he asked. "Goodness to Betsy, no," I replied, using an old-fashioned phrase while flashing the audience a knowing smile. Giving up, Sonny allowed me the spotlight, but I swayed my hips so provocatively that he interrupted again, stepping in front of me, saying, "No, no, no, she's the mother of my child." To me, he cried, "Can you stop that? Use your feet. That's what I do. And stop your fingers." He got his first round of applause with his aside. "Cher only moves that way on stage. After the show, nothing goes on." Ow, my hand! The 78-year-old veteran comedian and vaudevillian Johnny Durante was hilarious as one of our first guests. He was an old-timey guy. It would take us a while to get younger people to come on. Jimmy was in the first of our Vamp skits, featuring me, dressed as notorious women of history, such as Cleopatra, Pocahontas, and Mata Hari. After the skit, I would sit on top of an upright honky-tonk piano with my legs crossed or lying along the top in a gorgeous red gown, singing the best song about being a scamp, a vamp, and a bit of a tramp, before spelling out VAMP. I love that part because I was not just singing but acting, and the whole act was so much fun. The audience seemed to love it too, and the studio made it one of my signature sketches. Because of the great feedback, the whole experience reminded me of our movie Good Times, which Sonny had virtually written by himself and suddenly seemed way ahead of its time. I I'd be lying if I told you I could remember every detail of those first few shows, but I do know that it took us a while to find our footing. Fred Silverman was like a protective father figure to us and kept assuring the executives at CBS that we'd be a hit if they gave us a chance. Looking back at that first season, it was hard work, but it taught us new skills. It's one thing to be funny off the cuff, but it's an entirely different challenge to be reading lines and making them funny. Was it perfect? Absolutely not. But it was a great change to be out the road and in our own stage. Because Sonny didn't memorize his lines, he'd squint to read the cue cards stuck to the back of props. I let him flounder around for a while, riffing, going along with him wherever he went, and following up with a one-liner. The show was written for Sonny to be the straight man, with me landing the zingers, but we developed our own thing. I told him, son, don't read the damn cue cards like you're reading the damn cue cards. Just blow it out and be silly like you always are. Sonny respected me as an artist, and he also knew I had his back. So when I was abrupt with criticism about our act like this, we were talking as two equals. And he listened. I didn't have time to explain at length, and he knew I was speaking up to be helpful to him. He soon leaned into his own style of comedy and was hilarious. He'd go freewheeling, running around the stage like a large child. He often had me in stitches, and people loved him. Our techniques and personalities were completely different, but we came together to make something perfectly whole. As we figured out what worked, we were able to play off each other, and Sonny began to feel more free experimenting and going off script. It was like the show had a life of its own, and eventually we could just be. It was something entirely new, which is always difficult, but once it took shape, it was magic. I don't remember a single show when we were angry with each other. We could be having a bad day, but the moment we got to work, we were Sonny and Cher. What you saw was really what was true. We had so much fun, and we were equal. Performing in that show was a perfect playground. We both understood what it was to be two kids playing. If Sonny came walking through the door right now, we'd be Sonny and Cher. That's all we were meant to be, and that's who we were. Knowing that our lifestyle was going to change, we hired a British nanny named Linda Coote for Chastity. She was in her 20s and fit enough to chase around after our very active daughter. Linda brought her on set almost every day to eat lunch with us and hang out with our crew of people. Chaz has no idea we were working and thought the whole show was one big game in which everyone played dress up and had fun. Knowing she was in safe hands with Linda, we could focus on our weekly routine, which began every Monday morning with a read through of the script. Everyone sat around the table making suggestions and asking questions. The monologue in our pilot was pretty much the same structure as what we performed on the road, but everything else developed as the show evolved. There was all kinds of different material, and the recurring vamp segment based on famous women throughout history, a sketch called The Laundrette with me playing Laverne and Terry Garr playing Olivia, the fortune teller, with my head inside a vending machine telling Sonny his future. Me and Miss, a gender bending sketch with me as the man of the household, along with so many others. During the first 6 shows, we were just trying things to figure out what would stick. Guided by our director, Art Fisher, whose voice would yell, "Cut!" from beyond the bright stage lights like the voice of God. When his voice would come over the speaker, Chaz would look up in the ceiling and ask, "Is that Art Fisher?" We were working hard, but having such a blast. Our producers, Chris Beard and Alan Bly, did a great job, and our reviews improved week after week. The Sonny and Cher show was back when there was censorship. That was before you were even born, sweetheart. Back then, everything was like red tape. Yeah, but her outfits, they were kind of, they were sexy, I thought. She looked good. Okay. The only problem everyone had was with my hair, which hung well past my waist. Stylists would be sent to my dressing room to prepare me for each new sequence, only to take one look at my thick black mane, freak out, and say, "What the hell are we supposed to do with this?" Frightened by the challenge, they tried to squash it under wigs, which was a disaster, until we finally found Renata, who worked in German opera and used their style of fixing hair for wraps, so that finally the wig slipped easily on and off. I did my own makeup for years because I never liked the way the professionals made me look. I didn't have a makeup person until Tommy Cole did my makeup for Mask in 1984, and I didn't get someone consistent until Witches of Eastwick in 1986, which brought me one of my closest friends, Leonard Eagleman, who would continue to do my makeup for every film afterward. Within weeks of shooting our show, my skin broke out in tiny bumps due to the coating of foundation I had to wear for hours at a time under hot stage lights. My face began to resemble that of a hormonal teenager. I can't have looked too bad, though, because our reviews continue to be positive. Critics described Sonny and me as endearingly mismatched and applauded the producers for leaving in the bits where he screwed up and had to ad-lib. Our show wasn't what people expected to see on TV, but that's why it worked. It was just a married couple poking at each other, and people seemed to tap into that, especially when the cameras focused on how we looked into each other's eyes or how Sonny would brush his stray hair back from my face. Fred Silverman said of us later, "When we started, they were very in love and very close, and it was my hope that they would be on the air for 25 years. I'm sure that's what Sonny hoped too." We were working on that show every weekday. Mondays were a read-through. Tuesdays were for rehearsals. Wednesdays were camera blocking and dance rehearsal if they were needed, plus costume fitting afterward and recording opera tracks if there were any. Thursdays and Fridays were taping days when we'd block and shoot everything, including the chroma key sequences that used blue screen, a technology that Art Fisher had pioneered. Friday was the day the live audience filed in to watch us open and close the show. By the weekend, we were exhausted, so we took off to recover and spend time with Chastity, who learned to swim at 6 months and loved splashing around in the pool with us. It was a lot, but we did our best to make it work. Some weekends, we'd go to Oxnard Beach, where Sonny had bought us a funky little house. It was there that I had one of my happiest days. I was sitting out on the back steps watching Sonny walk to the beach with Chaz when suddenly she stopped, came running back to me, gave me a big kiss, and said, "Mommy, I love you so much." Oh, that's so sweet. Before heading back to join her dad, it was such a healing moment. By the time our summer pilot season ended on September 6, 1971, CBS was delighted with the ratings and immediately offered to renew, giving us 13 more episodes of the Sonny and Cher Comedy Hour, set to air from December 27th to March 20th, 1972, taking us to just before Chaz's 3rd birthday. They brought in some exciting new actors and writers, including Teddy Ziegler, who I loved, Freeman King, Peter Cullen, Murray Langston, and a young writer/comic named Steve Martin, who'd had success with the Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour, a show canceled by CBS after only one season due to an offensive sketch involving a spoof sermon. Steve would go on tour with us after the show and then become a huge star doing comedy and film. It's like, you know what I love about Steve Martin? He's so experimental. Like, even with his earliest comedy, it was like so different. But he does music, a play, banjo, and a band. He writes books. Like, he tried writing like these novellas and stuff. And even now he's on that Murders in the Building show. Obviously Saturday Night. Like, I don't know. I just think really interesting career. Still working, still kicking butt, but I like comedians that are unique, you know? What was that? They also hired comedian Terry Garr, who was funny enough to have her own show and was teased mercilessly by the boys. They all fuck with her constantly. If she had pigtails, they would pull them or stick them in inkwells or black paint, step on the heels of her shoes, or draw on her face while she slept or whatever. It wasn't mean-spirited. They were just childish idiots. I was always getting after them, telling them to behave or there would be trouble to pay. She and I became fast friends. Things felt different now that the show was picked up. We had more confidence in everything we were doing. It was like a dream. Sunny and I now had much bigger dressing rooms with couches and a bathroom. I loved it. On Thursdays and Fridays, things got especially lively because Rhett would go to the farmer's market and get tons of fun things to eat. Then set them up in my room. People would just casually pass by on some pretense, then come in and sit down and eat our food. Everyone from the studio would hang out in my room then. Even Alan or Chris might drop by because I had such an unreal spread from Rhett. As someone who'd always loved fashion, I felt like a kid set loose in the dress-up box at CPS now that we had the budget for a parade of costumes. Being fitted for them as they were pinned and cut to hug my body took me back to the days of watching Mama make beautiful clothes or trying on Mom's dresses while she was at work. From the start, the suits at CPS complained about how much my gown cost, but they stopped bothering us when they realized people weren't only tuning in for the comedy, but also to see my costumes. The money spent on the gowns was bringing in extra viewers. Each week I'd have a solo, alone on stage in one of Bob's breathtaking gowns. I would sing an old song that I loved, often from a classic movie or one my mother would sing. Before I started to sing, I'd ask the stage manager to go find Son. It was something I did even after we were divorced. He would then come over to the set and stand behind the camera to watch me. The stage lights were bright, so I could only see his shadow, but knowing he was there was a comfort. Afterward, he'd come up to me and tell me what he thought. If there was something he thought I could do better, he'd tell me and I'd do it over again. But I could tell by the look on his face when I'd aced it. I couldn't have done those solos without him. When it came to my singing, I trusted him. Working on television was so completely different from what I knew. Each week we had new guests, new songs to perform, new scripts to learn. When it was the two of us on stage, we could make up our own jokes as they came to us. Do you believe in reincarnation? I asked him one night. When he nodded, I paused for a couple of seconds and then hit him with, then come back taller. Jokes about his height always got the best laughs. When we started with the summer show, it was hard for Chris and Alan, our producers, to get guests. But the moment we went into prime time, our ratings went sky high. People started begging to get on. We couldn't beat them away with a stick. Our show ultimately brought on huge names like Truman Capote, Muhammad Ali, Elton John, Tina Turner, Twiggy, Red Fox, Chris Christopherson, Hugh Hefner, Bob Hope, Gene Stapleton, the Jackson 5, and Billie Jean King, among many others. A number of our guests were serious actors and musicians who wanted a chance to goof around, put on tights, and wear kooky costumes. It felt amazing to invite Tony Curtis and our old friend Glenn Campbell to goof around with us, as well as the comedian Phyllis Diller, who played the harpsichord and was funny and serious all at once. as she tried to get me to crack up as the princess who couldn't smile. We also had Charlie's Angels actress Farrah Fawcett, who became a friend. Years later, when Farrah was sick, she would ask if she could spend her last days in my home because she wanted to see the ocean. Ryan denied her, saying if she wants to see the ocean, she could stay at my house. Carol Burnett came on the show several times and was always a pistol. We were destined to be friends from the beginning. We're two Tauruses, come on. That dame could make me laugh with just a look, which of course is no surprise given her comic genius. Chastity worshipped her and had seen her so often on TV that she thought of her as famous, which wasn't how she thought of me at all. Once we wrapped each night, my life was very routine. I would come home, go upstairs to look at the baby, take off my eyelashes, brush my hair, put it in a ponytail, wash my face, brush my teeth, then watch TV and go to sleep. That was it. I didn't go anywhere, and the work was hard on me. I had an especially demanding schedule because we had more male guests than female guests, and they often wanted to do a segment with me instead of Sunny, especially if it was a male singer who wanted a duet. I got even busier when Sunny decided that in addition to preparing and filming a show each week, we should also get back into recording new music and out on the road. We have to make the most of this second chance, Cher, he insisted, stopping just short of repeating what was becoming his mantra, this is our time. I knew from the look on his face that it wasn't a suggestion, but a statement of what we were doing. And who was I to argue with a man who'd kept his promise? To capitalize on our success, he sent me to work on a new album for Cap Records with producer Thomas Snuff Garrett. Because of our pressing television schedule, I was given 1 week to finish the record. The good news was that I immediately loved Snuffy, who was a natural comic and great at his job. Never musically trained, he'd started as a disc jockey in Texas, but had such an ear for a hit record that he was a millionaire by the time he was 30. It was the first time Sonny didn't get involved because he was so busy putting together our new live show for our concert tour. I wanted to take more time, but there was none, and Snuffy was a get it done kind of guy anyway. So I go into the studio and put the vocal down a couple times, maybe listen to it, do it a couple more times, but that was it. I'd always know the songs perfectly before showing up because I knew I wasn't going to get any real time to sing. And back then, you couldn't clean up a vocal like you can today. Entitled Cher, with the accent I'd adopted when I was 11 and practicing my autograph to make me seem more chic, my 7th album's cover photo was a black and white close-up by Richard Avedon depicting me pensive with wet hair combed down over my face. I fought with everybody for that album cover. I was the only one who seemed to like it. The single the record company released was Gypsies, Tramps, and Thieves, and it became my first ever top 10 hit as a solo artist, and even earned my first Grammy nomination. The sad truth is that although it was the first time I felt I'd been recognized by my peers, and without Sonny's name appearing anywhere, we were working so hard, I honestly don't even remember how I felt. When you're doing an album and a TV show and costume fittings and photo shoots and concerts and being a mom, it all becomes a big blur. That song has never been one of my favorites because I don't really like story songs much. Tunes like Ode to Billy Joe by Bobby Gentry, even though that was also a huge hit. Gypsies has that same kind of vibe, as did the other contenders that year. Janet Joplin's Me and Bobby McGee, released after her tragic death at the age of 27 from a heroin overdose. Joan Baez's The Night They Drove Old Dixie Down. I love that one. It's an amazing song. And Carly Simon's That's the Way I've Always Heard It Should Be. In the end, Carole King won the award for her brilliant song, Tapestry. As Snuff Garrett liked to remind me, though we weren't making music just for me, I never got the opportunity to pick my own songs back then. They were always chosen for me by Snuffy, Sonny, or whoever was producing. Always a man. Gypsies became so successful that the album was reissued with a new cover, renamed to match the single, and went gold. I had to hand it to Sonny. He pushed me, but he sure knew what he was doing when he sent me back to the studio. I couldn't argue with the hit. With something like 50 concerts under our belts by the end of that year, it took an enormous amount of time and effort to juggle performing, our TV show, and our private life. One of them had to take a hit. Sonny would always remind me, we thought we were solid money-wise last time, but we weren't. Sonny packed our schedule so tight, not giving me enough time to catch my breath. Some weeks he arranged with production to shoot 2 episodes in 3 days so we could go straight on the road and get in 9 days of touring. This was a bargain for the producers because it saved them money, but of costumes, fittings, dance routines, and last-minute script changes for everybody who worked on the show. That hectic schedule could only happen about once a month. Our dear friend George Schlatter, a creator of Lappin', once said, if Sonny and Cher were driving into Hollywood from the Valley, Son would take a gig on Mulholland to break up the trip. George was making a joke, but it was kidding on the square. All right, that is the end of chapter 15. We pick it up on chapter 16 tomorrow. Because tomorrow is what? Thursday? I don't know what day it is. Let's see. Oh dear. Wednesday. Okay. Chapter 16. I will always love you. Okay, so let's look at some photos. Okay. Card here. Oh, this is going to be hard with my hand hurt like this. First photograph with Richard, Miss Vreeland was there. So with Richard Avedon. Is shot from behind, but you can see her long hair. And that's when they were like, oh, what if Sonny doesn't like this? But Diana was like, it is art. Okay. Oh, man. All right. Our first managers, Charlie and Brian. They look like kids here. He's dead. Sonny and I joined hundreds in Hollywood to protest police brutality in 1966. So that's her with the little, like an Eskimo hood or something. Right there. I'm going to hold them up closer after. Needle pointing my life away, and then with my beloved Scunchie in the 1970s. So needle pointing and then with her dog. Oh, that hurts. Okay. Oh, thank you, Jerry. Okay, so that's with the puppy. That's a needle pointing. And then those better shot of those again. Oh, look, we got her in like the beach hair. Oh, that's gonna be on this side. Let's see. It's like her and Sonny there. Which are in the pool with Sonny at the Encino house. Break time on the road. That's the one where they're in bed. Joey and me. I forget who Joey was. And then ready for an award show. That one is ready for an award show. That was Joey and me. I forget who that is. And then like in the pool. And then that one in the bed is on the road. Probably a hotel somewhere.
Okay. We got just arrived at the venue, preparing to go on stage. So here she's like getting in the zone. Just see there on the top. I'll hold it better in a minute. Sarang and me, he licked my leg and his tongue was like sandpaper. So this is her with the tiger. And then Sun, me, and Margie, who's an elephant. Right there. Is that it? Yeah, right there. So we got that tiger from that movie. And we got that elephant. And then up there she is on the road. And then here, Chastity movie shot with Sunny in the director's chair. My friend Joanna and me. So the movie Chastity. There she is too. There on the top. There's Sunny with the glasses. And then shaking hands with the audience at the Martin Luther King benefit at Madison Square Garden, June 28, 1968. Madison Square Garden right there. Son kissing me as I went to have Chaz. And then Chaz snuggled up mom and dad. Sunny and Cher rings. Okay, so here she is going to have the baby in the chair. There. And then here they're showing like there's the baby, but the rings are like Sunny and Cher rings or something. And then this is the one I told you that I saw, which is Mama plays with Chaz working the Blue Room, Fairmont Hotel. So there she is with the baby. Right there. All right, so let's take a look at this hand. I thought she was talking about some guy looking her like. No, you know your cat. Doesn't your cat's... my wrist. I wonder if this is going to look bruised now that I think of it. I haven't... I hope I can get it back on if I need to. Yes, Chaz, who is now her son. Happy New Year. Yes. Ooh, this hurts. Okay. Ow. Ah. Okay. Okay, bruising not... it does still look weird, though. Ow, doesn't it look weird still? Or am I... Like compared to this hand, that's fine. This is the one that had this had to be pulled. Okay. So if you see here, that's one spot where it had the lidocaine injected, like real deep. And then, see, we got a bruise there where he ripped it. Can you see the bruising? Yeah. It's right there. And there's another spot here, I think here, where he injected the lidocaine. And you still felt it but I'm hoping that, ow, it hurts. I'm hoping that it worked. Like here's still, oh well. Look, I was never going to be a ham model, so it is what it is, but man, that bruise right there. Maybe I should put my cast back on. Yeah, that hurts. It hurts like to move it all this way. I can. Okay. Could be worse, I guess. Maybe I should leave it off so I can shower tonight. Ow! Oh my god, that hurt. Right here. You'd think it would feel better by now. I mean, I haven't taken any Tylenol. How do I get... Okay, maybe this way. Okay. So, 2025 seems so far along now in the decade, huh? Nothing to be afraid of. 5 years out from 2020 feels kind of meaningful. But, I say we have to make the best of any year, any situation. And it's just like with the book showed us, never give up. You have a dream to follow. It's when it seems really, really like I'm performing in a dive bars for 4 people. Am I wasting my time, So it's like, keep going because all it takes is like that one chance or just, and they were practicing for it, there was a purpose. So keep going. All right. So I see you next year. I would say, remember, like, it's a good time to have goals or getting on the right foot, sure. But at any time, you can choose a goal, a path to try something, some spice into this year, like at the end of, well, I'm still in the current year because it's only like, it's not even 8 o'clock, but like in the last couple months, I've lost like 30 pounds. I've cleaned so much in like my house. And that wasn't a new year revolution or whatever. You can always make changes and accept, not accept, but kind of like, okay, this is how things are right now, and then make efforts to get what you want. And it might take time, Lord knows. I should show, maybe I could post some on this. I'm trying to figure out how to do stories. I'm having the hardest time with that, but maybe I can post some of my changes I've had with my house, and you'll see if I can make some progress on this hoard. You can do. I don't even have 2 hands. New Year revolution is something totally different. Revolution, revelation, resolution, whatever. Yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do today. I have something to eat. I'm hungry, man. I haven't eaten much. I had 1 apple. Yeah, I think that's all I've had today. I need to eat something else. But I love you so much. And me and my broke ass hand will be back tomorrow, hopefully showered. Hopefully, I'm going to try to see if I can contact that company. Is this dress inside out? No. No, is it? No. Sorry. So if I can contact that company late tonight while it's European daytime or something. Because I really need the help, and I was given donations to help do this. So like, it's not that that's the only reason, but it's like, I'm not letting myself or anyone else down in this. Like, I just wish it was like anything else. I wish it was easier, but you being here for me empowers me to keep going. And I will hopefully have better news tomorrow about that. We'll see. New Year's Day. What's going to even be open? I don't even know. Well, you know what they say often? That after the new year, if you're looking for like Christmas markdowns, I think Target goes like 90%. Although I stay away from Target because I don't really get that. But it might be a good time to hit like some of the stores and start seeing, because I still want to see if I can get some discount peppermint mocha, you know what I mean? Back when we had 99-cent store, they would go to the 99-cent store and be there like $1. Nowadays, there's no more 99-cent store. I don't know where to go for my discount. Maybe grocery outlet, but anyway, I'll let you know if I find any bargains. But I probably am too hobbled to do that. Don't forget to ice the hand. Maybe even look up a few things. Yeah, I'm not supposed to move it too much. Like, I'm not supposed to be like lifting things and I'm supposed to be letting it heal, but it still feels so much pain to touch it. But I really did a number on it last night, so. All right, my loves, let's boogie out the show because we're gonna boogie into next year. Happy New Year. Things always looking up. You can always look up. I love you.